Do you think that you know Greek islands? Those sun-bleached white villages and endless views to the sea? Well, think again, because this is Skiathos and that's very, very different than other Greek islands. It's very small, very compact, and the nature is also different. As you can see, it's very green. It's full of forests, which usually lead to all the way to the beaches, to small little beaches. So it's very different, and when you come here, it feels really different than any Greek place, any place in Greece which you've visited before probably. There are actually 60 beaches on this teeny tiny island, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but the island is only 12 kilometers from north to south and like 6 kilometers from east to west, so it's very tiny. And 60 beaches on this little island, that's a lot. Basically, when you walk around the shore, you just go from a beach to a beach, which is absolutely amazing. Plus, because it's Greece, there are around 60 churches here, or chapels, or monasteries, which is very Greece-like, but in a different way. So the highest point is a little bit over 430 meters, so it's not that big, but still the island is like a little bubble, and in the middle there are just forests going down there to the beaches. It's much greener than typical Greek islands, and also more humid. So it has very rainy winters, which makes it greener. There are no rivers or anything like that, but there are springs or water places where water is flowing from the top. So again, different than other Greek islands. Also, because of its location, it's a very important place for migrating birds. They are very often stopping here on their way to the south. As you can see, there are many teeny tiny islands around also. Some of the beaches are actually well known, and I think one of them is the seventh. It's considered or ranked as the seventh most beautiful beach on the world. How is it called? Skopelos. Skopelos, yeah. It's the seventh best beach on the world. And also it's quite a touristic place, although now I'm here in September, so it's not that bad as during the season, during July and August. There are around 6,000 of people living here, most of them just here. This is a Skiathos town, which is like a main hub where most of the people are living. There is a port and there is an airport, so most of the life is concentrated here in this place. It's still small from the top, but it's the most crowded place on the whole island. So 6,000 locals are living here. Through winter, some of them are usually leaving, so it's like 5,000 during the winter, but many tourists. And there are basically even no villages here apart of this town, that's Skiathos town. There are no villages. The east coast is full of like little resorts with accommodations and houses, but those are not towns, those are not cities. Even this is not a city, it's a town. So it has literally just one town, the whole island. And the west part, the west coast, north and west coast, there is nothing. There is no village, no civilization at all, which is hiking heaven, and that's the reason why I came to hike this island, actually. The fact that there are only 6,000 locals living here doesn't mean that there are 6,000 people. This island is visited by 500,000 tourists every year, most of them during the summer months. But still, it's a very popular place, not as popular as other islands like Crete, for example. But and that's also the reason why I came, because it's like a hidden gem. It's like a forgotten place. When you listen to people or when you talk to people, you find out that like 90% of the tourists here are from Great Britain. So it's like their thing, probably. They are somehow hooked to this island, and they are most of the tourists here. For over 100 years, this place, because of its strategic place, it was very often attacked by pirates. And many different groups and nations tried to conquer this place. So what the local people did here, that they moved from these lower areas, from the coast, to the north part, which is called Castro. And they were living there. Not only that it has the most beautiful views on the whole island, but it was safe there because it's on the big cliffs. It's impossible to reach that Castro place, the Castro area, from the sea. So they were living there for a really long time, for hundreds of years, after this place became more peaceful. And then they moved lower here and started to build the infrastructure. What's also interesting here is the airport, which is right here. It's considered one of the most difficult airports to land because it's very, very short. So sometimes, or most of the time, those airplanes, they are just landing above the heads of people, and they are swiped to the sea when they are not prepared for that. There are signs everywhere that you shouldn't be there, but if you are, it's dangerous. So this is similar to Madeira, maybe even worse in terms of landing here. And also this island, together with all the other small islands around, there is Skopelos island there and others. It's well known for Hollywood movies. I think Mamma Mia was shot here on Skopelos, because it's just beautiful. Just look at that. It's just perfect for movies, this place. So back to the point. The point I came here was hiking this island because it's more remote. I like remote places. So I wanted to hike around this island, and the goal was to just walk all the way around. If you would go straight by the beaches, it's very short. It's like 70 kilometers only. My plan was to make many detours and to visit nice places like monasteries and cliffs. So it was more like zigzag hike. And so that was the goal. I have to admit that the first 3 days, when I was going from the north, basically from the airport north and then by the coast to the west, I felt like this is my favorite place ever. This is like the best place I've ever visited, because that part there, the west part and the north part, it's abandoned. There are a few tourists on places which are more known and people are going there. But most of the time you are just alone. And those cliffs and beaches are absolutely gorgeous. So for me, for those 3 days, I felt like in heaven. It was literally one of the best, if not the best experiences of hiking, and even better than Skiathos, which is another Greek island, which I loved. So I hiked around, but then I arrived to the south part of the island, or maybe southeast part, where the resorts start. And basically this is the whole coast, all the way there to the south. And that's where the disappointment came, because it's a totally different place. The west part is remote, and those beaches are very rarely crowded, and it's hard to get there, and they are just paths everywhere, and you can't get there by a car most of the time. But this part, that's very touristic and very crowded, and I was surprised how different it is. So in the end I made it in 4 days, but I skipped this last east part, because it's just full of cars, full of tourists. I didn't feel safe on those beaches. They looked crowded. People were going there by boats, and those tavernas were full of people. I just didn't like it. So my rating came from 10 out of 10 to 3 out of 10 on the east. So average would be like 6 or 7. But if you like hiking remote places and you are searching for solitude, definitely avoid the east part of the island. The west part is amazing though, and if you are slow, you can spend there 3 or 4 days, most of the time alone. How are the trails here? As I said, most of the island is just covered by pine forests, and there are about 25 trails here. So you can just pick. If you want to spend at least 3 days by hiking, you walk basically through all of them like that. And the west coast is also full of very nice cliffs with very nice views, which reminded me Skiathos, but this is more green here. I really liked the monasteries and chapels and churches which are scattered around the island, but that's for basically all Greece. I think on Crete they were like 3,000 of them. Here they are maybe 60, but it's small place, so they are very dense, and they are open 24/7. Most of the time there is nobody there. Sometimes it's impossible to get there in other way than foot, In a map there is a road, and when you come there it's totally collapsed. So you are crawling and finding your way, and you come to a little monastery and there is nobody. Just a shadow and chirping birds and nice views. Really, really nice. And those beaches are also absolutely amazing. They are bigger than you would expect and mostly empty. You can sleep there. Nobody will care, nobody will even see you. So really nice hiking place. The people here are, as all Greeks, if you listen to my talks about the hiking after each hike, you know that I'm a big fan of Greek people because they are exceptionally friendly and nice and helpful. And this lasts for Skiathos too. Not only locals but also tourists, because as I said, most of them are British, and British people are also very nice and friendly. I had an interesting experience on the west side when I got lost and I ended up on a private land, and they were just some guys grilling and they had the barbecue. And I said, sorry, I just lost my way. And they not only, they were totally fine, and they even gave me water, and they offered me wine and other things which I refused, but they showed me a way, a little path, hidden path to a hidden beach, which is not in any maps, not even in touristic maps, nothing. There was a very steep path to it, and there was a hidden beach which they showed me. You know, they could kick me out, but they were very friendly and they showed me the way. So that's just one example, but all local people here are like that, just like all Greeks. I don't think you can meet a grumpy Greek person anywhere. Really nice people, yeah. And tourists. I had several talks with tourists. One of the tourists took me on a 4x4, on a buggy, for a ride. So that was also very nice. And I had a few talks with other people, and it was very lovely with every single one of them. What I didn't like and what I really hate, is that everyone who is smoking don't care if it bothers anyone. So each time I was eating here in Skiathos town, there was somebody who started to smoke right next to me, outside of the restaurant, you know, under the umbrellas, and they just don't care. I think those are mostly tourists, those are not locals, but when I asked in the restaurant, they said it's a public place and that's allowed and everybody can do it, but I think it's very disrespectful when you have lunch and you want to eat and somebody starts smoking next to you. So you just take your stuff and you go to another table and somebody starts smoking there. So at one point I was eating and there were 3 people smoking right next to me. That was absolutely disgusting. And it seems like it's normal here. I have never experienced this in other countries. But this was probably the only negative experience I've had here. Because it's green here, so there are many birds. They are chirping all the time when you are inland. I was surprised that there are fishes in the sea, because most of the time when you are somewhere they are not anymore, but here they are. There should be dolphins and turtles here, and inland there are many goats, and also it seems like cats rule this island, because there are cats everywhere. And they are thriving because everywhere you can see the little bowls with cats' food. So they are well fed and very happy. And if you are friendly to them, they come to you and they just want to be stroked, and they are also friendly. So many cats. There is one dog shelter here in the middle of the island, which was for me one of the highlights, because you can walk those dogs and people are going to walk those dogs. When I came there, there were like, 10 people waiting in the line to take a dog. And I was talking with the worker there. He was also extremely friendly and extremely nice. And he said, those dogs, sometimes they go for a walk even 5 times per day, because just people are coming for them. I took one too, and it was beautiful. And they said they are also regularly adopted. Actually, the only reason why I came to the dog shelter was that it's technically nearly impossible to bring the dog from here to my place. So I was safe, but if it would be somewhere closer without having to take an airplane, I would definitely take a dog or 2 from there to give them a better life. But I think the dogs in this shelter, they have absolutely amazing life, because people are just coming to cuddle with them and to take them for a walk. Apparently there is a donkey shelter here, actually close to that dog shelter. It should be on the beach. I went there because I wanted to cuddle with those donkeys, but I couldn't find them. I couldn't find anything, so I don't know if they were just moved out somewhere or they were on the walk, I don't know. Down here, near that Skiathos town. You can see swans and ducks, and there should be one black swan. I couldn't see her, but I saw photos and people say that she's somewhere here. So you can see a black swan. The weather you can see, it just got cleared out, but today it was the only day when it was a little bit of rain. It's half of September and it's raining very, very rarely here. Most of the time it's 25 degrees and also in the night the same, like 22, 23, up to 25 degrees. So the temperature is not raising and dropping much. It's most of the time the same, which is nice. Now in September it's not in 30s, it's usually around those 25s. So it's really nice. Just those nights, they are too hot. Even in the thinnest sleeping bag, you would be hot. And also on some places, I think not on some, on one beach, there was a condensation, so I was wet in the morning due to the condensation, but on other places there wasn't anything because those night temperatures, they are just too high for water to condensate. Although on some places there were mosquitoes, not that much, only just after sunset, a little bit, and when you spray yourself, they are gone. And then the whole night and the whole morning there were none, so not a big issue with mosquitoes. What's a good thing is that because the island is so small, that there is signal everywhere. So unlike other remote hiking places, here you have signal everywhere. Even in the most remote beaches, there is always a little bit of signal, so you can be online and get information, which is really nice. On other places which I visited, the remote places, sometimes there was no signal for 1 day, 2 days, like on El Hierro, for example, or Gavdos, or Crete, even on the South Crete. They were places without signal. Here I think they are just 2 stations, those BTS stations, providing the signal, and that's enough for the whole island. When you want to eat here, it's actually easy, because even on those remote beaches, there is always a taverna. So every single place, nice place where you would like to stay, usually, there are tavernas. And in those tavernas, they are bringing fresh food every day. You can eat there. They even take cards, which is surprising, because on the internet people say that you can pay only by cash, but I could pay on most or all places by card. Also, everyone speaks English, no problems like on other Greek islands. Here literally everyone speaks English very well, so no problems with communicating. Yeah, because of that amount of tourists, probably. On the other hand, because that west part is so remote and those beaches are not populated by people, I mean like living there or having houses there, there are not that many roads, and to many of those places there is just a dirt road or even a path. So you can obviously walk, because it's so small island, you can cross it in 1 day. But what most people do is that they rent a 4x4 or a buggy, and you can drive a buggy, and you can go through those dusty small roads where no car can fit or drive. So that's what most people do. All this coast is connected by one bus line, and those bus stops are marked by number 1 to, I don't know, 20, 19, something like that. So you can take a bus, it costs €2, one ride. And I think a bus is also riding to one of the or the biggest monastery of the island. But other than that, you have to go by 4x4 or a motorbike or by foot. My highlights for this island, which I recommend to visit, is the Castro, is that place which I was talking at the beginning. That's like a ruins at the northwest part of the island, at the edge of the island. It's a very beautiful place with very nice cliff views. I was actually sleeping there the first day. There is a little beach down there and the taverna. And actually on the taverna they are using a donkey to carry food every day, which is very sad to me. That the donkey is just standing there and waiting and then carrying stuff. The animals don't deserve this. Anyways, so the Castro is really nice. Then a really nice place is a monastery, Evangelistria. Monastery of Evangelistria. It's also in north part of the island, in the middle, in the forest. Very beautiful place, like a church, and flowers everywhere, and cats everywhere. Obviously that dog shelter is a place which I would really highly recommend to visit, because just you can give love and get love from those dogs and to support those people there. I also recommend the hikes, those trails. They are marked in red here in the maps, all of them around the west coast. You can pick any and they are all beautiful. I recommend those. Also, what I would recommend are boat trips here by the port. There are dozens of small and big boats and you can take a boat trip. Some of them will take you around this island and some of them are even like one day long boat trips which take you all around these small islands to visit those famous places or beaches which are not accessible in any other way than a boat. And you can even see dolphins and stuff. I actually had the booked one for today, but it was cancelled because it's very windy. It was raining during the night and it's very windy, so they cancelled it. I'm trying to find one for tomorrow, but so far they were just saying that they don't know if the wind will be strong enough to cancel it again. I don't know, so maybe I will manage to find some day trip by those boats, but maybe not, we will see. What I highly recommend is to carry a lot of water. Even when on many places here there is a water and it's written even like it's drinkable water. Even when there is a sign, I drank one from one place, it was written drinkable water. I took 1 liter. I filtered it and it was fine, but I took also 1 liter without filtering and I felt funny. I don't know if it was from the water or not, but I didn't feel really well. It wasn't like stomach ache or some pain, but I felt weird, not comfortable definitely. And locals, if you ask any local here, they all say don't drink any tap water here because the limit, it exceeds limits of mercury. There is too much mercury in the water and you can't filter that out. So what everyone recommends here just to buy bottled water instead of tap water. And also because many of those paths there in those remote places, those are no pavements or anything, built. It's like forest paths. So I also recommend the good shoes, because going there in flip-flops is not a good idea, definitely. What was the biggest challenge for me was the heat, because you are often on the sun. The sun, even now in September, is strong. So you sweat a lot and it's hot. And also, what was surprising for me, you never see it on maps, is that there is a lot of elevation up and down here. So you can think that you are going from beach to beach or that you are walking by the cliffs and it's just like this. But no, it's just like this. So you are going all the time up and down, and in this heat, it's very tiring. So you need a lot of water, and you need to hide in shadows and rest a lot. So it was definitely much more difficult than I expected to hike around this island. If you would consider coming here to hike this island, I recommend either April, May, maybe June, but maybe June would be already too hot, and September, October. Those would be probably the best months. I wouldn't recommend the season July and August, first of all because of tourists. There would be much more tourists here. And second, the heat would be unbearable for hiking. If you walk up and down and you are on the sun, it would be much more difficult and much more tiring. So rather the spring or the autumn. Still you will have plenty of sunshine and warm temperatures. If you want to see more or know more about my hiking here, check the members section. Under the video I'm putting a map which is one path around the island, but in the members section I put daily routes, and all those daily routes you can see where I started, when I finished, where I was sleeping. I marked all the beaches, water sources, shops, tavernas, all those places, or toilets, all those places of interest. So if you like to do the trail which I did, definitely check the members section. There will be also photo albums with dozens or hundreds of photos, and this lasts for every my hike. All my hikes I did in the members section, they are these detailed maps and hundreds of photos from each of the hike. And this time, for the first time, I made short videos, live videos from the hike itself. So there are like 20 of them under this video actually, where I was sharing things straight from the hike. So check it out if you want in the members section. My conclusion about Skiathos. It surprised me in many ways. The west part surprised me in a very nice way, and I was enjoying it a lot. It was much better than I expected. The nature itself and the remoteness and the places were gorgeous. On the other side, this east part and south part disappointed me. So the west part I would say better than Skiathos, 10 out of 10. This part I would say 3, so average I would give 6 or 7 to whole Skiathos. If you like solitude and remote places, I recommend Skiathos, which is a Greek island next to Crete. You can get there only by a ferry, but that's much more remote. It's smaller even, but it's much more remote than Skiathos. So that's it. My next plan is traditionally Canary Islands for Christmas. This time I'm going back to Lanzarote. I hiked Lanzarote once, but this time I want to go through different places, more by the coast, and visit different views and different beaches. And I'm doing this because I had this experience with another island, Canary Island, Gran Canaria, which I hiked for. It was my first Canary Island. And I was very disappointed because I expected much more. And then I hiked it again, different places, and it was so much better and so much more beautiful. So I'm expecting something like this now on Lanzarote too, visiting different places than last time and enjoying it more than last time. So see you on another hike.